Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be swell of you. Hit that like button, comment, all that stuff that does the engagement type thing. Your Miami Heat, man. I think the admin account said it well. What are we going to do with all this time, everybody? Miami Heat are off until Sunday when they welcome in the Dallas Mavericks. Tonight in the NBA, the big news was the Cleveland Cavaliers went down to the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics beat them, so that is the first loss of the season for Cleveland. They dropped to a mere 15-1. Boston improves to 12-3. So that was the juiciest game. The Cavs made it a valiant effort there at the end. Elsewhere tonight, the Heat's future opponent, the Mavericks, they beat the Pelicans by 41 in an NBA Cup game. I would say that values well for their point differential. The Nets won tonight over the Hornets, 116-115. Nuggets beat the Grizzlies 122-110. Jamal Murray with 27 points. And right now, the Lakers lead the Jazz, and the Spurs lead the Thunder. The main thing I want to talk about in this video is Terry Rozier, because in a bit of a surprise, Terry Rozier is now dealing with an injury, a foot injury, and there was some more layers to this story that came up because they gathered everybody with the injury info. They're like, yeah, it just kind of popped up on him after the game. But Erik Spoelstra was explaining, I guess, that this was also something he's kind of been dealing with. And I know he's now the one thing I'll say about the Heat fan right now is until they get their record, I guess, to a place that's like in a comfort zone. I don't know what the number is, 5 games over 500, 4 games over 500. Every time there's a night where something doesn't work, someone's going to draw the ire of somebody else, Like, for example, yesterday, Bam Adebayo, it's like, oh, Bam, he only had 8 points, and most of that was in garbage time. I was like, I didn't even really think about it like that because I just thought, man, they had a great game from Jimmy. Jimmy was back. That was the biggest deal. Joel Embiid did squadoosh. Tyler Hero had a monster third quarter. Those guys had a fun, 1A, 1B moment. And Bam also snatched Joel Embiid's ankles. So that was great fun. They did put Duncan Robinson in the starting lineup for Terry Rozier, which was definitely an interesting wrinkle to things. And that starting lineup is an interesting one because, man, it's a lot of three-point. You have the one thing that's interesting about starting Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero on the same court, right, is you have two of the best three-point shooters in the league basically on the court at the same time with two of your horses who are not traditional shooters, but they can facilitate, they can operate out of that area to get out to guys. And then you have kind of Haywood as that capable open shooter. Obviously brings a big-time lockdown defender mentality. It's an interesting lineup. It's an interesting starting lineup. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see from this Terry Rozier injury is, does this open the window? Now, in a weird way, in a benefit, I don't really know where Spo goes with this because so the Heat have this time off until they get to Sunday, right? And this was Spo's comments on the Terry Rozier injury, just so everybody can hear from his perspective where everything's at. Because he says, well, hopefully this is a week that he can use to benefit, and this isn't a long-term thing.
It flared up last night. He's been dealing with it, for some time. But, after the game and on the flight, didn't really clear up this morning. But this should be a good week, for him to be able to get treatment, get that right, and keep moving forward. Hopefully it's not a long-term thing.
All right. So the fact that maybe it seems like he'd been playing through a little bit of something, and then it got really bad after the game and just didn't get better, so they weren't able to go. One, okay, you look at it like this. Maybe that explains Terry's struggles. I mean, Terry has been really, really struggling. And I know even a few games back I did a video about, hey, is it time to bench him? Is it time to bring him to the bench? And I was kind of under the impression of, I feel like you need like 20 to really make a move like that. But if you're going to make a move like that, I mean, they've already made an adjustment to the starting lineup, right? Like Nico's out of it. So it's not like Spo hasn't already made a tinkering move. You know the top three guys aren't going anywhere. And, Terry, isn't, it's not going to be, I think, the headache that, it was with Kyle, where like, Kyle's was supposed to be QB1 and he was your big acquisition. This guy was brought in here. You want him, he doesn't seem like it's going to be one of these things where if you were to do it, would he make a huge stink about it? I don't think so. I don't think that's really going to be in his nature. And would it be better for him? There was this one time yesterday where the game really was slipping away, and Spo went with a lineup that had no Tyler, no Bam, no Jimmy on the court. And I was like, man, they should probably at this point, and they had no Jaime yesterday either, and they had no Terry. I was like, they should probably have one of those three guys on the court at all times in a game like this. Thankfully, the Heat were able to bounce back, but you do think about it in a situation like that, how beneficial theoretically a Terry Rozier could be. And so I just wonder with this week, how much is Spo going to be doing some evaluation into that? What do the looks like? Or would it be more of a case of if there were more games and he was going to miss games and then you saw how it looked and you had the results of it, would that lead you to pull the trigger on a move like that quicker? It's hard to say. But I don't think that Erik Spoelstra is going to sit around here and let it linger. Like, if he does see something that he likes and feels like, hey, Jimmy's more comfortable here, Bam's more comfortable here, Terry, would benefit from moving. Because it's not always a bad thing to put somebody on. We've already seen with Nikola Jovic, his impact has gone up tenfold being a bench player than it was a starter. It's not even close. So you could, Terry could look at it as a demotion and he could look at it as a bad thing, but also he could look at it as an opportunity to, like, he's going to get his chance to cook, because where really is that in the starting lineup? I think that there's two ways to put it, and I don't think that it's as weird to do it with him as it is to do with Tyler. Not that you would, because Tyler's been sensational this year. And then there's always been the question of that backcourt too, right? Like, it's always, hey, does this work? I don't know. I haven't watched those two, and I thought they don't work together. But it's a wonder of, do those two work together with the other two horses in Jimmy and Bam, and does that make all the sense in the world together? That I think is unproven. And now that Terry has another injury that he's dealing with, it's hard to know right now, because unfortunately NBA injuries happen. You can say all the things that you want about being more available, but things are going to flare up. And now we've had a season where everybody is starting to get those little bumps and bruises. Jimmy's dealt with something, Jaime's dealt with something, and now Terry's dealing with something. Nico got bashed in the face, but he was right back out there. So they've had some things they've already had to withstand. I still think that if he starts on Sunday, I'm okay with that. I haven't gotten to the point. Like, yesterday's game did not sway me. I was like, oh, they definitely got to bench Terry. Like, I still think they could win that game if Terry Rozier plays. But it's definitely noticed. It's definitely something that has you peaked of interest, being like, well, let's keep that in mind with everything that's going on. Let's see where we're at, and figure things out, and see if there is another maneuver. But I don't hate the way that starting lineup yesterday looked. I definitely didn't. I think that there could be something there. There could be something there, and you have to think with these days off, because the Heat are off Tuesday. They'll be off again on Wednesday, and then I don't know when they'll get back to the practice court. But, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. But in that sense, you got to know that the wheels probably got to be turning for Erik Spoelstra, while also keeping in mind that, hey, it's a foot. It's a touch and go thing. Maybe he won't even be ready by Sunday, and this is all moot. But if he is, I would imagine he's probably still going to start. I don't think they're going to go right to, unless they're going to like put him on a minutes limit or something like that. If it's like in that type of thing, because he hasn't been productive. I mean, he has not played well, but now you also have to factor that. Like, all right, we know people's concerns about the fit, but to be fair to Terry, is he also playing through something? And if he is playing through something and it's affecting him, is that more of an explanation for where he's at right now than just the lineup? So all these things kind of have to be considered.